In the very beginning, before there was anything at all, there was only darkness and silence. A quiet, soft darkness that stretched everywhere. No sun, no moon, no stars. Just peaceful stillness. The earth was not yet formed, and the face of the deep waters lay calm and deep beneath the endless sky. Then, gently, a voice moved through the silence. It was a quiet power, a presence that brought meaning to the emptiness. "Let there be light," this voice said softly. And just like that, light began to shine, faint at first, like a gentle whisper in the vast darkness. This was the very first light, a delicate glow that scattered the shadows. It was not like the sun that warms us during the day, nor the stars sparkling in the night. It was the pure and simple light of beginning. This light revealed the earth slowly taking form, the shapes and colors that had been hidden in the gloom. The light and the darkness existed side by side, not a battle between them, but a quiet separation, a gentle balance. The light was called day, and the darkness, night. The movement from one to the other was soft and steady, a rhythm of rest and awakening. This movement of light and dark was the very first marking of time. The first evening descended into night, and then the first morning followed, breaking the night quietly with new light. Day and night began their gentle dance, a cycle that would continue slow and sure, bringing rest and renewal. As the light spread across the face of the waters, other things started to take shape, though we might not know exactly how or when. The vast skies above the waters came into being, a soft, wide expanse that stretched endlessly, sheltering the earth below. It is not entirely clear how long this first day lasted, or how the light itself changed in those early moments. But we can imagine the calm, the slow unfolding of day, as if the world was waking softly from a deep dream. The separation of light from darkness was a quiet miracle, a first step in a long unfolding story. It was gentle, unhurried, like the soft turning of a page in a beloved book, and as evening fell, bringing night once again, there was a deep peace that settled over the world. The night was not something to fear, but a soothing rest, a time for renewal and quiet. It wrapped the earth in its cool shadow, allowing the day's work to pause and the world to breathe. In this gentle cycle, light and dark, day and night, rest and awakening began their eternal rhythm. And though the sun, moon, and stars were not yet set in the sky, this first light was the very beginning of all that would follow. The world was new and still full of mysteries. How the waters and the sky separated, how the earth found its shape, these things were yet to come, gentle secrets held close in the quiet unfolding of time. For now, there was simply the first light, soft and clear, deep and calm. A beginning wrapped in peaceful silence, where all things were possible, and all life awaited its gentle birth. As the quiet light folded softly into the dark, and the dark settled tenderly around the light, a subtle stirring began to ripple through the vastness. The air, still filled with silence and possibilities, began to hum with a faint energy. It was neither loud nor urgent, but a slow, steady pulse, like the breath of a sleeping giant just awakening from a deep slumber. This gentle rhythm filled the space between day and night. It whispered promises held in silence, promises of growth and becoming. It was as if the light and darkness had entered into a dance, moving with grace and patience, their steps weaving the fabric of time that had only just begun to form. Above the waters, the expanse of sky stretched quietly, a great calm dome that seemed both close and infinitely distant. Its vast blue depths held the secret of something waiting to be born. The air itself carried a subtle coolness mixed with warmth, a delicate balance inviting the next unfolding. Beneath this sheltering canopy, the waters responded to the quiet light. Surfaces shimmered faintly, tender ripples spreading like gentle breath, touching everything. Where once there was only sameness, a gleam here, a glint there began to mark the boundaries of new beginnings. Slowly, shapes took tentative form within these waters and along their edges. Mists arose in soft, curling tendrils, drifting lazily under the sky. They weaved through one another, creating patterns delicate and transient, like gentle breath upon glass. Soft shadows and light danced upon this haze, painting early hints of land masses yet unnamed. Somewhere in the hush, a distant murmur began, faint yet persistent. It was neither voice nor song, but a delicate vibration, the world's first murmur, carried on unseen currents. Though imperceptible to ears not yet refined to listen, it was the subtle birth of sound, a prelude to songs and stories yet to be whispered. The day stretched fully, not as a flash of brightness or overwhelming glow, but as a quiet unfolding of presence. The light, soft as a feather's touch, wrapped around the curvature of the waters, coaxing them into gentle currents. Slowly, the interplay of light and water traced the outlines of places yet unnamed, tracing gentle hills, hidden valleys, and quiet shores beneath the veil of mist. In this sacred stillness, the first breath of wind awoke. It was a breath without force, a mere suggestion of movement that stirred the surface of the waters. It swept in delicate fingers, skimming over waves, lifting the slightest ripple into a slow spiral of motion. This breath of air carried the faintest scent, subtle and undefinable, neither sweet nor sharp. It was a fragrance of possibility, fresh and untouched, a whisper of beginnings yet to be imagined. As evening tiptoed near, the light softened once again, folding back gently beneath the horizon of the forming earth. Night's deep cloak returned, welcoming the day's retreat with a quiet embrace. In this peaceful darkness, the world exhaled, settling into a calm rest. Beneath the night's canopy, the vast waters glittered faintly, reflecting distant points of light not yet fierce but present, hopeful stars adrift within the velvet dark. These points shimmered like distant promises, tiny sparks of wonder holding watch over the sleeping world. The night itself was not empty. It was full of gentle symphonies, the subtle lull of waves, a faint rustle of unseen movements beneath the waters, the whispering breath of air weaving through the empty spaces. Each sound was a note in the soft harmony of rest, a song inviting renewal. With the closing of the first night, the world seemed both ancient and new, a place poised softly on the edge between potential and realization. There was no rush, no urgency. Instead, a slow unfolding, as patient as a seed waiting beneath the soil, was in motion. The light would return, the day would follow, and with them, the dance of creation would continue, a melody composed in quiet moments, in stillness, in the meeting of opposites. The rhythm of day and night, light and darkness, motion and rest, was a gift given without demand, an eternal cycle to cradle all that was to come. And so in these earliest hours, the world was wrapped in a gentle balance, wrapped in the tender unfolding of something much more than could yet be seen or understood. The edges were blurred, and the possibilities stretched wide, endless as the sky above the waters. Throughout this first turning of day and night, there was a sense of sacredness, an unseen hand guiding with patience rather than haste. No voice was needed now, no proclamation. The light and the dark, the breath and the water, the quiet air and the gentle stars, all spoke in a language older than words, older even than time. They invited everything to simply be, to rest, to awaken, to breathe slowly beneath the calm expanse of sky. In this first gentle balance, there was space enough for everything fragile and everything vast, for the mystery that cradled the first light, for the promise carried in night's quiet heart, and for the soft murmur of a world beginning to dream itself awake. And in this silence, the miracle of being quietly bloomed, letting each moment glow with the soft light of a new dawn yet to come. As the night deepened, the stars above multiplied quietly, each a soft pearl suspended on the vast black silk of the sky. Their presence was subtle, neither radiant nor fierce, but reminiscent of distant memories, faint whispers of light that shyly touched the surface of the dark world below. The gentle sigh of the wind continued its steady breath, smoothing the wrinkles on the water's face and lifting whispers from the earth. It carried stories born in the depths of untouched groves, tales inscribed not in words, but in the intimate language of rustling leaves and the gentle sway of ancient grasses. The silence that enveloped the land was neither empty nor still. It hummed softly, a low hum of existence, waiting patiently to be heard. Time itself seemed to stretch thin, flowing without urgency, a silver thread weaving moments into the tapestry of forever. The quiet pulse of unseen life began. Tiny currents danced with the breath of the world, shimmering trails that hinted at the stirring of things yet unrealized, but already promising presence. These unseen movements created ripples that reached out like tentative fingers, testing the embrace of the dark water around them. Above, the pale glow of the moon began its gentle climb. Not yet full, it was a subtle lantern, a cautionary light that bowed respectfully to the deeper shadows. Its beams traced delicate paths across the hills and shores, caressing the contours of the forming earth with a tender, silvery touch. The mists that had once crawled softly across the land now thickened in secret places, weaving themselves into veils that draped over mossy stones and tangled roots. They moved silently, like shy spirits hesitant to reveal themselves, hinting at treasures hidden just beneath the veil of night. Soft sounds broke the deeper silence at times, the delicate plink of water droplets released from leaves, the distant rustle of a creature learning its own quiet steps. Each sound was a gentle punctuation in the night's writing, subtle strokes and dots that enriched the narrative of emerging life. The edges of hills blurred softly, the boundaries between one place and another melting like the slow blending of colors on a pale canvas. This softness was neither incomplete nor confused. It was a wise invitation, a subtle suggestion that all things belonged to one another, interconnected in whispered harmony. A slow warmth began to stir along the horizon, hidden just beneath layers of shimmer and shadow. It was not a blaze or a flash, but a patient warmth, like the faint stirring of a heartbeat beneath sleep, the first pulse of dawn's tender breath. In this dawning light, the water mirrored the sky's transformations like a polished glass plate, catching every flicker and fold of color. Soft hues echoed the promise of a new day, reflected not only upon surfaces but deep within the stillness, calling forth a quiet awakening. Time, measured by the unfolding of light and shadow, continued its patient song. The world, fresh and untouched, expanded slowly with each waking moment, every flicker of light strengthening the delicate framework of existence. The night, now cradled by the approaching day, held a different kind of magic, a stillness pregnant with possibility, as though all things poised upon delicate threads of expectancy, waiting for the cue to bloom into expression. On land, the tender silhouettes of plants began to reach upwards, tentative and curious, brushes against the soft night air. Their forms were simple, not yet full shapes, but gestures toward fullness, small promises whispered to the stars and to the light. The first gentle birdsong broke through the quiet, fragile and scattering, sparse notes carried on the early breeze like petals on water. There was no rush, only a slow weaving of melody born from the depths of silence. Beneath this song, deeper sounds stirred as well, the faint rustling of small creatures making homes beneath ancient leaves, the slow, careful steps of life learning ground. Every movement was deliberate and unhurried, a soft unfolding of existence's careful choreography. In the shallow pools, light began to awaken hidden glimmers beneath the surface, minute motes of color drifting slowly in the tender current, greeting the day's first caress. These tiny sparks shone quietly at first, then gathered courage, growing bolder as the dawn strengthened. The mists thinned gradually, retreating like shy reflections dissolved by the steady approach of warmth. They left behind traces of memory on every leaf and stone, soft reminders of the night's gentle guardianship. The earth itself gave a faint sigh, a slow stretching of its bones as the breath of day revealed new textures and colors. The soil, darkened with moisture, rich and fragrant, a deep promise written in scent that spoke of growth and fertile beginnings. Light stretched slowly over the hills, spilling into valleys with golden fingers, tracing the complexities of the terrain. Each curve became a story, every hollow a secret whispered by shadows and warmth entwined. The sky above transformed in quiet gradations, the deep blue yielding to tender blushes of pink and violet, colors that did not shout but gently unfolded, as if the horizon itself were breathing in deeply for the day to come. Along the shorelines, the gentle lapping of waves took on a new rhythm, mirroring the unfolding pulse of the world around them. The water sparkled faintly, catching the growing light like 1,000 tiny mirrors, reflecting the promise of endless possibility. The sacred silence, ever present, shifted softly, becoming a field of harmonious sounds that grew together in delicate balance. The world was alive with whisperings of light, water, wind, and earth, each joining the unfolding morning song in perfect unison. A slow warmth settled across everything, a silent embrace that kindled the spark of morning deep within the heart of the world. It was a light not just seen but felt, a gentle promise rising with the daybreak. With the return of light, the cycles of life began to take their place beneath the overarching sky. The dance of becoming, of movement from hidden depths to radiant forms, gathered pace without haste, always flowing within the gentle bounds of natural order. The world seemed to breathe with regularity, its pulse steady and sure, whispering a quiet invitation to all things to grow, fill, and find their place in the vast unfolding mosaic. Shadows fled slowly, dissolving like mist under the clear gaze of dawn, leaving behind a landscape transformed, yet still innocent, open to endless interpretations, as a page yet unwritten but ready for stories. Each element, the shimmering waters, the gentle hills, the stirring plants, and the newborn creatures, found its voice, subtle and delicate, blending into the soft chorus of the day's gentle beginning. Light deepened gradually, no longer tentative but certain, weaving golden threads through the foliage, touching the surfaces of stone and soil, warming the cool breath of the morning air. In this moment the world stood poised, a delicate balance held between earth and sky, between shadow and illumination, between silence and a soft stirring of song. Here in this silent welcoming, the first day was truly born, an unhurried celebration of existence, of becoming, and the quiet unfolding of all things new. And as the morning progressed, the promise of continued growth shimmered on the horizon, endless and patient, held forever in the gentle cradle of time's embrace. The cycle turned again, softly, patiently, light to shadow, shadow to light, a rhythm eternal, carrying within it the wonder of beginnings unceasingly renewed. In this sacred dance, the world whispered its quiet vow, that from the first light to the last night, all things would rise and fall gently, always held within the tender arms of time, in the endless miracle of being. As the first light reaches its highest point, the day's breath deepens, expanding softly across the sky. Each ray, careful yet insistent, moves to touch every leaf and blade, reaching up toward the promise of warmth. The earth listens once more, absorbing the invitation to stir deeper, to grow steadier beneath the gaze of the sun. A quiet pulse runs through the ground, an ancient rhythm that speaks of roots weaving, tendrils stretching, and tiny seeds beginning their silent claims beneath the surface. It is a steady murmur beneath the stillness, steady and sure, like a heartbeat echoing the promise of renewal. Above, clouds drift slowly, their shapes shifting gently, as if reluctant to hurriedly change the scene. They cast playful shadows upon the hills and valleys below, cool dips amid the rising heat. These shadows move, dance, and blend with the light, until the shifting sky invites a calmer, steadier brightness. In this spreading light, the smallest creatures awaken too. The quiet ant, modest in its path, begins its tireless journey across the forest floor. Minute wings flutter briefly, then settle as butterflies fold and unfold in a slow, deliberate rhythm. Each movement is part of a growing symphony that fills the air with quiet purpose. Whispers of breeze stir the tall grasses, their fluttering like soft applause, encouraging the movements beneath. Breezes carry gentle scents, earth warmed by the sun, the faint sweetness of blossoms yet to open, the crisp trace of morning dew retreating under the harvest of light. Water, glistening with reflected sky, continues its subtle dialogue with the day. Pebbles at the edge glitter with timeless patience, polished by wave and wind and settling sunlight. Ripples slip quietly, folding light and shadow into patterns that seem woven by unseen hands, each fold a small miracle of calm motion. In the deeper woods, shafts of light carve paths through the canopy. They touch moss and bark and leaf in crystalline focus, drawing ivory and gold out of green. A spider's web shimmers faintly, spun with delicate precision and highlighted by the sun's tender gaze. It catches a tender thread of silk and hangs it lightly between branches, a fragile bridge for the coming hours. The voices of birds rise gradually, a soft crescendo of chirrups and trills that spill between branches and into open sky. Each note seems to float, embraced by the stillness around it, and then released to wander freely, blending with the sounds of the earth waking. The song is not hurried, it is patient and unbroken, carrying the memory of night mingled with the anticipation of day. Time seems to slow here, each second marked by delicate shifts. A leaf unfurls its edges with slow deliberation, unfolded like a whispered secret. A flower bud quivers briefly, then reveals a blush of flowers, shy and new, in the morning's embrace. Life moves quietly, intentionally, as if honoring the sacred space between shadow and light. The soil, rich and dark, crumbles softly beneath the touch of unseen life. It breathes silently, warm and moist, alive with subterranean currents carrying nutrients far and wide. Worms thread through the earth, tiny connectors of worlds above and below, turning quietly in their endless labor. Beyond these gentle rituals, The world expands, rolling hills stretching toward distant horizons, their colors deepening in the soft light. Distant trees stand tall, the silhouette of their forms finely etched against the now deepening blue of the noon sky, chased by the occasional sweep of a soaring creature far beyond sight. The chorus of life grows delicate layers. Bees hum low and purposeful as they trace arcs above flowers, their dance a busy song that speaks to futures yet unknown. The subtle clicking of beetles and the faint rustle of small mammals moving in the underbrush weave an undercurrent of sound, an intricate fabric holding the day together. Light becomes a gentle caress rather than an intrusive force. It bathes the world in quiet warmth, a slow, tender heat that encourages leaves to unfurl fully and fruit to swell gently in hidden places. The sun does not rush. It nurtures, steady and sure. A mirror-like pond offers a moment of stillness, a perfect circle of still water reflecting the sky like a portal between two worlds. Lily pads float lazily, their rounded leaves catching droplets that glisten like tiny stars. In the water's depths, fish move in languid grace, their forms brief ripples of silver and shadow. The creatures of the day unfold their stories quietly beneath branches and beside stones. A frog, still damp and gleaming, settles beside the water's edge, its eyes steady, patient watchers of the passing hours. Nearby, a hare rests briefly beneath the sheltering shade, ears twitching, alert yet calm, part of the unfolding peace. As light spreads further, the landscape reveals deeper hues. The mellow cream of wildflowers clinging to soft slopes, the ochre and russet of fallen leaves beginning to settle again, quietly marking time's gentle flow. Shadows withdraw carefully, leaving room for light's soft dance to play upon every surface. The day continues its silent progress, measured and unhurried. Every detail, no matter how small, becomes part of the vivid mosaic that is movement, growth, and quiet change. The earth holds its breath in the balance of this moment, a moment marked by the endless promise of dawn expanded into day. And then, as afternoon ebbs softly into evening, the light begins to shift once more. The warmth recedes gently, not in haste, but with a tender farewell. Colors deepen, golden glows pooling in hollows and brushing tree trunks with amber fire. The air cools in a slow exhale, drawing the world towards stillness. Birdsong mellows into a softer hum, notes falling into twilight's embrace like scattered pearls. The creatures that thrive in day's light find places to rest, their movements growing sparse and slow. The wind itself grows quieter, a muted breath that scatters leaves in lazy spirals, stoking the promise of night's arrival. Shadows lengthen and deepen, weaving a delicate tapestry that envelopes the land in hushed tones. The sky deepens from warm twilight hues into creeping layers of violet and indigo, stars beginning their shy appearances, tiny sparks of ancient fire emerging in the heavens. Water reflects the changing sky, darkening into pools of ink and silver. The movements beneath its surface slow, mirroring the world's gradual calming. A lone fish breaks the water's stillness briefly, scattering ripples that mirror the tremulous first stars. Night approaches not with abruptness but as a slow unfolding, a soft cloak drawn quietly over the day's radiant face. The earth inhales the coolness, the sense of damp leaves and fresh earth rising anew, racked in the delicate promise of rest and renewal. In this twilight, the sounds grow softer yet more profound. Crickets begin their gentle chorus, a rhythmic song that fills the cooling air with a steady hum. Frogs join in, their croaks low and resonant, echoing softly over still pools and through dark woods. The wind picks up gently again, this time cooler and more mysterious. It threads the trees in whispered songs, rustling leaves as if sharing secrets known only to night. Each sound is a small note in the symphony of darkness, where unseen life awakens under stars. As the first night fully settles, a quiet peace descends, enfolding the land in a velvet embrace. The world rests now in the balance of shadow and moonlight, carried on the breath of gentle night breezes and the soft pulse of hidden life. All around, life prepares for the cycle to turn once more, poised in stillness but ready to awaken. In this tender pause between night and day, the infinite promise of existence holds steady an unbroken thread woven of light, sound, and breath. And so, the eternal rhythm continues, day melting into night, night yielding to day, each moment a delicate dance of beginning and ending, a whispered echo of the timeless miracle that is life unfolding in its quiet, gentle perfection. Beneath the curtain of starlit sky, the pond's surface transformed into something almost sacred. Each ripple caught what little light filtered down, sparkling briefly before fading into the soft darkness. The fish, once lively with daylight, now moved with slower, measured grace. Their forms barely stirred the water, creating gentle undulations that whispered of secrets beneath the quiet surface. Around the edges, the lily pads rested still and cool. Dew had begun to collect on their broad leaves, tiny spheres glistening like jewels in the scant moonlight. The scent of damp earth mingled with the faint fragrance of wildflowers, drawing the night's air into a gentle embrace. Above, the moon glided softly, an ancient sentinel watching over the landscape. It cast a silver path across the water, illuminating the scene with a calm brightness that soothed the watching creatures. Along the shoreline, the long grasses bent ever so slightly, moved by the night's tender breath. The wind here was a gentle murmur, not sharp nor sudden, a slow dance weaving through the branches. In this hushed realm, a movement stirred near the reeds. A turtle, slow and deliberate, emerged from the darker water, its shell catching hints of moonlight as it climbed onto a smooth stone. Its eyes flickered, adapting to the dimness, serene and unhurried. It seemed to embody the night itself, patient, timeless, a quiet observer of all that unfolded beneath the heavens. The frogs were lively again, though their sounds were plaintive and soft, a delicate conversation scattered in rhythmic croaks and gentle echoes. Their singing was neither hurried nor restless. Rather, it was as if the night urged them to tell stories of age-old waters and whispered legends lost in time. The crickets added their chorus, a fine rhythmic tick that settled into the air like a comforting blanket. Together, the orchestra of nightlife wove a fragile melody to soothe the earth to rest. Above the trees, the stars tended to twinkle with a shimmering pace, careful and steady, as if aware that the world below was listening closely. Among them, the faint outline of the Milky Way spilled like a silver ribbon, a celestial reminder of something vast and gentle, resting far beyond sight. The constellations stood like silent guides, each a soft punctuation in the vast pages of sky. Near the base of an ancient oak, a pair of fireflies flickered intermittently. They danced with no hurry, their glowing bodies pulsing sweet signals in the shadowy air. Their quiet luminescence broke the darkness in small pockets, a rhythmic ebb and flow that felt like the very heartbeat of night creeping through the trees. The air was cool but not cold, just a soft touch of evening's breath, calming, caressing leaves and petals alike. Every movement was slowed, deliberate, and the world seemed paused in an eternal moment between the last sigh of day and the first stirrings of dawn that were yet to come. Occasionally, a leaf would drift down from a tree, spiraling gently like a soft feather, landing with a muted whisper atop the soft undergrowth. The soil beneath, still warm from the fading sun's touch, accepted it quietly. Tiny insects moved in subtle patterns beneath the leaf litter, their paths little threads in the tapestry of hidden nighttime life. In the distance, the soft murmur of a brook could be heard, steady, endless, a low song melding with the night. The sound was a gentle pulse, carved through shadows and silence, echoing like a promise that life quietly but persistently flowed onward. The water's surface barely broken by a leaf or a passing creature, inviting all rest under its watchful care. Here and there, the shapes of nocturnal animals might have been seen, the glint of an eye reflecting moonlight, the soft patting of paws on soft earth. A fox moved with a slow grace, pausing amid the thicket before melting deeper into shadow, a brushstroke painted in moonlight. Owls, too, held the night's cadence, their wings spread wide in silent flight, crossing paths with starlit solitude. Between the trees, cool mists rose in gentle wisps, blurring the edges of the world into a hazy dreamscape. The night seemed to breathe in and out in slow waves, a rhythm larger than any living thing, older than memory. It was a time to surrender, to be small within the vastness, to fold into the calm and rest. On the shore, the hair from the day was curled softly beneath a thicket, ears flicking in quiet alertness, before settling into stillness. The calmness that had held the land through daylight now wrapped around them as a sanctuary. The pond's mirror, once reflecting the brightness of sun and sky, now reflected the shimmer of constellations and the streaking path of a lone shooting star, a whisper of light falling through endless dark. Time here was something measured not by clocks, but by the subtle shifts of sound, shadow, and breath. In this gentle night, the moments stretched with a slow ease, each fold of darkness, full of life hidden and known. The stillness carried its own song, filtered through the rustle of leaves and quiet water, revealing that peace is no absence, but a presence, a living, breathing thing. As hours passed and the night deepened, the world remained steadfast in its calm pulse. The first light was still far beyond the horizon, yet its promise floated faintly on the air. Somewhere beyond the reach of this tranquil nocturne, the sun awaited, steady and certain. The night's embrace was near complete, but it was not the end. Rather, it was a quiet prelude to the cycle's inevitable return. The things that rested now would awaken soon, drawn by the gentle arrival of dawn's caress. Life, patient and enduring, maintained its flow without rush. Night and day, light and shadow, woven seamlessly, endlessly entwined. In this place, where stillness reigned and nature whispered softly, the promise of another first light lingered as quietly as a breath. The pond, the trees, the watchful creatures, all held their breath, poised in the delicate balance between what was past and what would come, and as the moon traced its celestial path overhead, the land rested, whole, complete, suspended in a moment between dark and light, forever engaged in the silent, beautiful dance of first light and first night. The cool air softened as the night deepened further. Shadows stretched and folded slowly into themselves beneath the ancient oak's sturdy arms. Where the leaves had once drifted lazily down, dust motes now hung suspended, catching the faintest fragments of moonlight. Beyond the quiet watch of the oak, the woods breathed with a subtle rhythm. A barely perceptible rustle drifted through the undergrowth, small creatures rustling and stirring, tending their hidden tasks beneath the cloak of darkness. The world beneath the leaf litter hummed quietly, tiny feet brushing earth, delicate antennae extending upward in search, the faint scrape of a beetle's shell. The distant brook, gentle and unwavering, whispered stories that only night could understand. Its steady murmur was like a pulse threading through the woods, weaving together all sound and silence. A breeze picked up, carrying the water's sibilant voice, and the leaves seemed to join in, adding rustling voices of their own. On a fallen branch near the water's edge, a single moth trembled delicately, its wings sensing the faint vibrations of night around it. Quiet, unhurried, it rested in the spaces between moments, the rare stillness before another movement, the breath held before a sigh. From deeper inside the shadows, the fox drew near, its movements smooth and careful. It paused at the water, tongue flicking lightly to taste the coolness. Those golden eyes, reflective in the faint light, surveyed the world with calm assertion. The fox was neither hurried nor fearful. Rather, it moved with an assurance born of night's patience. Above, silently passing like a thought upon the wind, the owls glided. Their rounded wings made no sound, a testament to the quiet mastery of their flight. Each beat lifted and carried them farther, through swaying branches and patchy moonbeams. Their eyes shone briefly, catching the glint of a small movement, a mouse, a shadow, a life unfolding under the cloak of night. As the mist rose between the trees, it thickened slowly, softening the bark of trunks and the edges of leaves. The world was becoming less distinct, a gentle blur where shapes melted and merged, where secrets lingered just beyond sight. Light and shadow drifted like fabrics folding over one another, creating a muted palette shared between night and dreams. Along the pond's edge, where the wild grass leaned toward the still water, the hair remained curled in its quiet rest. Its breath came in small, even puffs, a gentle rhythm reflecting the heartbeat of the land itself. Above, the reflection of stars shimmered dimly on the surface, like distant fires held by the earth in a memory of light. A single shooting star traced a fleeting line across the reflected heavens, a brushstroke of fire painting a brief story in the sky's mirrored glass. The moment stretched, held delicately between the last flicker and the next stillness, before returning to silence. The sounds of the night shifted slowly. Here, the high trills of a cricket rose in chorus, joined by the low call of a distant bullfrog. Somewhere far off, a wind stirred the brittle husks of fallen leaves, setting a patchwork quilt of rustles in motion that softly cascaded toward the absorbing quiet. In this world, time was not measured by seconds, but by the delicate shifts in those sounds and shadows. A breath passed here, a soft flicker there, the slow unfolding of night's tender embrace. Life did not rush. It flowed, patient and steady, invested in the weight of quiet continuity. A gentle chorus of unseen life continued to unfold, woven through layers of sound and stillness. Somewhere under a moss-covered stone, a tiny spider felt the vibrations of the night and began its weaving, each thread a silent vow, spun with care among the shadowed contours. As the hours deepened, a faint pale glow began to push against the edges of the darkness, like the soft stirring of a great promise. The first brush of dawn had not yet kissed the horizon, but it hovered just beyond the line of trees, waiting with the patience of centuries. All around the ancient oak, the forest seemed to breathe in harmony with this subtle shift. Every leaf, every blade of grass, every quiet creature responded to the ancient rhythm. There was no hurry in their movements, no rush for the light. Instead, they held the moment, this fragile balance swaying between darkness and the edge of day. Occasionally, the fireflies flickered again, small lanterns kindled for a moment in the air. Their dance was quiet, unassuming, yet strangely persistent, reminding the woods that life glowed even in the depths of night. Each flicker was an answer to the last, a small note in a timeless melody. Through the mist, the land seemed suspended, neither moving forward nor stepping back. Light and shadow met like old friends, entwined in an unspoken conversation, carried by the soft breath of the breeze. The night was not an ending, but a pause, a gathering of quiet strength before the unfolding of day. The ancient oak stood steadfast, guardian of this suspended moment. Its roots ran deep, entwined with earth and history. Its branches reached up as if to gather the light just beyond the horizon, and its leaves whispered softly with the coming breeze. In this quiet presence, the forest found balance. As the first hint of color brushed the edges of the sky, the sounds of night began to temper gently. The calls of frogs softened, the chirps of crickets slowed. Owls finished their silent patrols, finding roosts to rest. The fox retreated beneath cover, its eyes closing slowly in the last folds of dark. The hare stirred ever so slightly, stretching its lean body against the cool earth. Light began to shimmer faintly on the pond's surface, the stars fading like distant embers at dawn's approach. The mist, too, hesitated, then slowly lifted, revealing the soft contours of the waking world. Within this quiet turning, the land seemed to hold its breath one final time, capturing the stillness before the first light would spill fully into the sky. A moment as fragile as a dewdrop, balanced on a leaf's tip, shimmering with the fragile beauty of beginnings. The night's tender dance was nearly complete, its story woven through layers of shadow and silence, sound and stillness. And as the horizon whispered its first pale hues, the promise of a new day settled gently over the ancient oak and all the hidden life beneath its boughs. In that sacred space between night and dawn, the world was perfectly at rest, poised on the edge of awakening, cradled in the quiet harmony of the first light and the last night. The slow exhale of night drifts through the branches, curling softly where shadows linger still. A coolness rests, tactile and sacred, on the skin of moss and bark. Somewhere nearby, a single dewdrop collects at the tip of a fern leaf, trembling slightly before it falls, barely audible, like a quiet sigh released into the waking world. Light, now fragile and tentative, edges further over the horizon. Its blush colors the mist, a gentle pink melting into pale gold. Underneath this subtle glow, the forest floor blushes awake, delicate mosses lifting their spongy heads toward the freshening air, as if to greet a visitor long anticipated. Each tiny step of light feels like a whispered promise, tender and unhurried. A soft rustle brushes a bed of twigs. From beneath a pile of fallen leaves, a dormouse pauses, its breath minute puffs in the cool morning air. Small ears twitch. Whiskers sense the slow stirrings of the earth's breath. The creature lingers on the edge of sleep and wakefulness, held in the delicate balance of the first light's embrace. The great oak stands as witness, its ancient limbs entwined with life and time. Light dances in filtered ribbons across its bark, casting intricate patterns shaped by early leaves. Beneath, a chorus of tiny wings and legs begins anew. Ants stirring, beetles scuttling, a spider tiptoeing along a silken thread left from the night's web. Each movement reverberates quietly, sending faint ripples through the cool air. Birds gather, hesitating with soft calls that punctuate the unfolding dawn. A blackbird's clear flute-like note shimmers between branches, answered by the dipping, melancholy whistle of a thrush. Their songs drip slowly into the mellow light, threads weaving gently through the rustling canopy above. It is a symphony born not of urgency, but of gradual becoming. Along a shaded brook, water trickles and whispers, carrying stories from stone to stone. Its voice is steady, subtle, a liquid thread tying night's fading shadow to day's emerging glow. Dragonflies hover briefly, their iridescent wings catching the light like splinters of glass, then dart away in exercise of newfound freedom. Leaves slick with dew glisten faintly as shafts of sun climb higher, slow and reverent. The world feels as if drawn with careful brushstrokes, each detail deliberate and soft. Even the air around seems younger, scented with earth and fresh beginnings, alive with the tender pulse of dawn's first heartbeat. A fox, softened by the pale light, pauses to survey the landscape with quiet contemplation. Its breath clouds briefly, fragile as morning mist, then melts into the vast, gentle stillness. The animal's steps grow lighter, peaceful in their measured grace, aligned with the slow unfolding rhythm of the forest's awakening. From a hollow near the oak's massive roots, a tawny owl stirs and stretches, ruffling feathers that glint faintly in the light. It blinks slowly, eyes adjusting from shadow to glow. The night has passed, yet the silence it left lingers as a delicate shroud, soft and protective, holding the forest close before the day fully begins. High above, a great tapestry of leaves shifts as a breeze breathes through the canopy. The sound is subtle, a rustle, a whisper, like an unseen hand turning the pages of an ancient book. This movement dispels the final veils of mist, revealing a clearing where wildflowers tilt their heads toward the sun, bloom petals glistening with fresh tears of night. The air hums faintly with the vibration of life renewed. Crickets retreat, their lullaby spent, making way for the first cautious calls of the morning. Somewhere deep in the woods, an echo of a raven's croak ripples quietly. It is not a call of alarm but of greeting, a voice joining the slow unfolding ritual of dawn. The delicate world beneath the oak tree listens and breathes. Time stretches, a ribbon undone gradually from night to day. The tension of anticipation softens into calm acceptance as warmth begins to seep into every hollow and corner, bathing leaf and stone alike. Sunlight rests finally upon the ancient oak's rough bark, illuminating swaths of its mossy quilt and casting warm gold across gnarly roots curled into the earth. The tree seems to exhale, settled in the tender glow of morning, utterly alive in its deep stillness. A hare emerges from the sheltering brush, steps slow and deliberate. Its eyes, shiny and bright, scan the expanse bathed in gentle light. With each breath, the quiet thrum of the forest's heart aligns with the gentle unfolding of day, a seamless bridge woven from shadow to glow. The first light lingers, soft and golden, as the field and forest exhale in unison. The promise it carries is palpable, not sudden or loud, but tender, echoing in the quiet spaces between rustling leaves and birdsong. In that gentle moment, the world holds still, wrapped in the fragile beauty of becoming. With every element of the forest synchronized in silent accord, the night slips unhurriedly away. The dawn, patient and permanent, steps in with a glow that feels like the world's softest embrace, and beneath the ancient oak, life, hidden, subtle, enduring, follows the gentle rhythm of the day's new beginning. The morning air is soft and still, filled with the subtle pulse of a world unfurling. Light slips through layers of emerald leaves, sifting down like golden dust on blades of grass, dappling the forest floor with warm patterns. Somewhere distant, water murmurs in a steady, soothing rhythm, the brook, unhurried, weaving its way past stones and downed branches, carrying the day's first stories quietly onward. A gentle hum, barely audible, threads through the space, a chorus of tiny wings brushing air as midges and gnats begin their gentle dance. Hovering with delicate precision, they catch the morning shimmer like pockets of pure light before drifting away. The calm is comforting, a lull in the heartbeat of the forest, a breath held before life intensifies. In the undergrowth, soft movements repeat. A small vole, fur-brushed with dew, scuttles purposefully beneath ferns, rustling leaves where shadows nestle deep. It pauses, nostrils flaring faintly, tasting the freshness, sensing the liveliness awakening all around. Its swift retreat is mirrored by the slow fluttering of a butterfly nearby, wings fragile and ornate, catching the sun's gentle caress before it settles on a cluster of wild violets. Above, the rhythmic singing of birds intensifies, their melodies weaving through branches, over moss and stones, stirring the air with ancient harmonies. A thrush pours forth a clear, silvery song, each note a ripple, threading through the warmth of dawn. Leaves tremble lightly as the wind responds in a whispered sigh that teases the high canopy. The ancient oak in the heart of the clearing stands quietly proud, its wide limbs embracing the morning with strength and grace. Its rough bark, mottled with patches of velvety moss and lichen, feels alive in the growing light. Beneath, the roots fold into the earth like great hands pressed firmly to the soil, steady and enduring. Here, the heartbeat of the forest feels most present, a grounding center from which all life flows. From the depths of a thicket, a rustle disturbs the stillness. A medium-sized bird unfurls its wings with soft rusts and flutters. The jay's feathers shimmer in shades of blue and black, bright against the muted greens and browns. It stares quietly, eyes gleaming with curiosity before a crisp call rings out, sharp and clear, slicing through the morning air. The forest listens, acknowledging the greeting, a moment of connection shared in subtle understanding. Nearby, clusters of wildflowers sway gently, their petals kissed with morning dew, shining like tiny lanterns. Delicate bluebells bow beneath the weight of each droplet, while buttercups open wide their golden faces, catching stray sunbeams and holding them close. Amid them, grasshoppers leap with faint clicks, propelled by strength and lightness, vanishing as swiftly as their arrival. In this moment, nothing rushes. Time breathes, measured and slow. The forest's pulse beats in waves, a quiet rustle here, a rising trill there, the gentle tapping of branches meeting leaf. A brown squirrel pauses mid-leap on a slender branch and flicks its tail with delicate precision. It scurries upward, a living coil of energy, darting toward the highest reaches where light filters brightest. At the edge of the clearing, a fresh scent laces the air, the faint perfume of wild mint, growing low, beside a sunlit patch of soft grass. Bees hum out their busy work, wings a steady drone as they flit between blossoms, gathering sweetness. Their tiny legs carry grains of pollen, a golden dust bearing the promise of new growth, unseen yet essential. Underneath it all, the soil hums softly, rich and fertile, weaving a silent story of roots digging deep, unseen tendrils threading through the dark earth. Life flows both visible and hidden, a world within worlds, where every touch matters and every breath counts. A rustle deep in the underbrush signals the appearance of a badger, stepping deliberately between patches of shade. Its fur is thick and mottled, marked with streaks of midnight and pearl in the soft light. The badger pauses, snout rising to catch the scent of daybreak, nostrils flaring gently. Then it moves again, strong despite the quiet, confident in its place among the roots, stones, and damp leaves. The call of a distant woodpecker echoes softly, the steady tapping a rhythm, beating out through the layers of green. Its sharp knocks blend with the lighter rasp of a moth's wings brushing velvet petals nearby. Everything connects in this unfolding of day, a thread weaving through feather and leaf, stone and stream. High above, a lone hawk circles, its wings wide and graceful, catching thermals in smooth arcs. For a brief moment, it casts a shadow over the clearing, a fleeting dark outline moving across the sunlit earth. The forest seems to hold its breath, watching, before the shadow slips away, carried silently on the rising wind. As the sun climbs higher, shafts of bright light stretch further, igniting the moss in the hollow of the oak's roots with a soft green glow. Tiny insects, painted gold by the warmth, gather and waver like sparks. The air grows warmer, comfortable and still, as though the forest itself has settled into a gentle ease, a state of quiet contentment. Just beyond the clump of wildflowers, a small pool reflects the vivid sky. Dragonflies, their wings trembling, dip and dart above its surface, skimming the water's edge with practiced grace. Their iridescent bodies catch flecks of sunlight, flickering like jewels, before vanishing in swift, delicate flight. In this gentle unfolding, the hare reemerges, its eyes bright with cautious wonder. It pauses again at the boundary between shadow and light, nostrils twitching its scents carried by the airs, the deep earthiness, the hint of foxspore, the faint perfume of mint and blossom. Then, with measured steps, it moves into the widening warmth, blending into the scene with quiet ease. The forest holds its breath just a little longer, savoring this delicate balance between night and day. The last echoes of owls fade into distant memory, while the morning chorus swells steadily around the ancient oak, the pulse of life growing clearer, stronger. Here in this moment of perfect stillness and harmony, the world feels whole, complete. A quiet invitation lingers on the breeze, to listen closely, to notice the small and subtle, to be present and still. The first light has come, and with it, the beginning of all new stories, waiting patiently beneath the watchful branches and gentle skies. As the day unfolds further beyond this sunlit clearing, the forest breathes easy, a timeless rhythm steady and calm, carrying the gentle promise of every dawn,